Hello students, this is chapter 4 from History, the Mughal Empire. So let's recall the chapter. Who were the Mughals? So ruling a large Indian subcontinent with diversity of people and culture was a difficult task for any ruler. So our subcontinent is usually having many caste and religions, and also they were following different cultures. So it was a difficult task to for any of the ruler to rule on it. Mughals seemed to be successful but for a short period of time. So they ruled over here but a shorter period of time. Their administration and ideas of governance left a legacy that cannot be ignored. So many of the ideas, the food habits, the clothing habits, the administrative system, the construction, many of these ideas, and as well as the administrative system, that was the legacy that could not be ignored. So that still we are following. The Mughals were the descendants of two great lineages of rulers, that is Genghis Khan from the mother's side and Timur from the father's side. So the Mughal took pride in their Timuride ancestry because they were not liking to be known as the Genghis Khan's ancestry. Why? Because Timur has conquered the Delhi, so that was a great achievement at that time. So they were always happy to know with the Timurid ancestries. Next topic what we are having is that is Mughal military campaign. Babur became the first ruler of Farghana in 1494 but was dethroned by Uzbeks shortly after. So they were the rival group of the Mughals, as the Mongols were also the rival groups considered. Babur seized Kabul in 1504 and defeated Ibrahim Lodi in 1526. He captured Delhi and Agra to set up the Mughal dynasty. So after being defeated, he he came again. He first seized the Kabul in 1504 and later on he defeated the Ibrahim Lodi in 1526 and captured the Agra and Delhi. So here he set up a Mughal dynasty. The Afghans were an immediate threat to the Mughals. The third rival groups who was against the Mughal, they were attacking on them. Mughals tradition of succession, this also I have discussed in chapter 3. The Mughal did not follow the rule of primogeniture and believed in the copercenary inheritance. Now rule of primogeniture mean eldest son to inherit his father estate. So the whole kingdom, whatever the father is having, the eldest son is going to look after, he is going to get. And copercenary inheritance means the division of inheritance amongst all the son. The whole estate is divided into amongst the son. Mughals relation with the other rulers. Mughal rulers were against the rulers who refused to accept their authority, but as they became powerful, many rulers like the Rajput joined them voluntarily. So those who deny, they attack on them, they have a war on them, and those who accept their authority, they are happy and they are having a good relation with them. Many of the rulers married their daughters into Mughal families and in return got high position in the Mughal court. So matrimonial alliances that I have taught in chapter also. Matrimonial alliances means to marry the daughter to the Mughal rulers mainly. So from this they become a family, and the daughter's father get his position same. They got the highest position in Mughals court also, and their kingdom also was not being conquered by them, but a tribute was paid to the Mughals. Now, like few were accepting the ruling of Mughals, but many like Sisodia, Rajput completely refused to accept the Mughal authority. So they deny that they are not going to work under the Mughal rulers. Defeated rulers were treated by the Mughals with honor and were returned their land as assignment as known as Vatan Jagir. So after defeating, they were also taking care of the rulers. After defeating the ruler in the battle, what they are doing, the Mughals used to honor and respect the defeated rulers, and what they are doing, they are giving back their lands as the assignment known as Watan Jagir. So after returning it, what they are doing, they the Watan Jagirs was given to the king, and king has to give the tribute to the rulers only, because they want only the tribute, they want to earn, they want to earn more and more profit. That was the only purpose for the Mughals. So that is achieved, so they don't need to just look after the administrative system. The rulers will look after the administrative system also, and on behalf of that they are also going to get the tribute, who the Mughals are going to get the tribute. So this ensured a balance and further helped in the expansion of Mughal empire. Now for the two reason it is being done, because the people were not knowing the Mughals in proper way, they are not going to accept a new ruler. So the ruler who is already ruling over there, if they are asking such kind of taxes, then it could be taken in easy way, so it would be balanced. They don't need to do much work on that. So in this way the Mughal has expanded the empire also, and had kept a good relation with the rulers also. Mansabdar and Jagirdar. Mughal rulers appointed diverse group of people into their service as Mansabdars. Mansabdar refers to an individual holding a rank. The same as Iqtidar, Mansabdar were also getting a land to look after, and they are also holding a rank. A grading system was used to fix rank, salary, and military system. Zat determined the rank and salary. The higher the Zat, the higher the position they will get. So Zat ranking depends on the horse and the soldiers what the Mansabdar is having, and one Zat is considered as two, one horseman and one horse. So this has to be registered in the kingdoms as an account, and as per the Zat, the rank is been determined, and as well as the salary. So if the person is having 5,000 Zat, it means he is already having the 10,000, like 5,000 horses and 5,000 men. So highest Zat in the kingdom is always owned by the prince, that is 10,000. It means the prince is having 10,000 soldiers and 10,000 horses. So everything is being registered in the kingdom. Mansabdar were special rank holders having some military responsibility, like maintaining a specific number of cavalrymen, savars, cavalrymen the walking army, and savars means horsemen, and they are get registered them. Brand horses are also registers, they purchases branded horses also, and give them the salary. As I said, they are registering themselves for that, by the number of horses and soldiers they have, according to that they are getting the salary. Revenue assignment called Jagis were the salary of the Mansabdar, like land that is given to them. According to the Jagir, they have to give the number of soldiers, provide the number of soldiers to the king. So that is the salary of the Mansabdar, and how it is being given by the Zat. During Akbar's reign, Jagirs were assessed in a way that that it equaled the salary of Mansabdar. During Aurangzeb's rule, with the increase of Mansabdar, Jagirs fell short and revenue collection became excessive. What happened? During Akbar's reign, Jagir were assessed in the way that it equaled the salary of the Mansabdar. With the Jagir, whatever they were having, and with the salary, so equal salary they were getting as per the Jagirdar. Later on in Aurangzeb's rule, what happened, the Mansabdar increased, and there were no Jagirs available to provide all the Mansabdar. There were number of Mansabdar who were waiting for their turn to get the Jagir. Now whosoever got the Jagirs, the Mansabdar, they were collecting the excessive taxes or revenue from the peasants. Aurangzeb could not control this and peasants suffered a lot. So anyhow, who is paying the taxes? The peasants. So as the Mansabdar has to pay the taxes to the kings, what happened? They were collecting excessive, and even though they also were keeping the amount, for that reason they were torturing the peasants, beating with them with hunters. Those who were not able to pay, the land were taken away from them. So the only sources of the peasant to earn something or to produce something, that was being taken away. So here the peasants were suffering a lot over here. Zabt and Zamindar. Tax on the produce by the peasant was the main source of the revenue for the Mughals, that we have already learned. Zamindar were the intermediaries between the peasant and the rulers. So they were the person who were collecting taxes, and that was given to the rulers. So Zamindar were considered as the intermediaries. A careful survey of crop yield, prices, and areas of cultivation for 10 years was conducted, and tax in cash was fixed on each crop. Now everything came under account, everything was being checked and surveyed. So the crop yielding was checked, prices were checked, areas of cultivation were also checked. 10 years, within 10 years this was being done. So every 10 years they are checking it, and they were taking tax as in cash. Before it was taken as in produce, but later on that was taken as in cash, and it also depend upon the crops what they are cultivating. The revenue system was called as zabt. Provinces were divided into revenue circles with their rates. So as per the crops, as per the revenue circles, and as per the rates, according to that the taxes are being collected, not same everywhere. Akbar's policy. Abul Fazl in his book Akbarnama discussed the feature of Akbar's administration, particularly in the last volume of An-i Akbari. So that book was divided into 3 volumes. The first volume of the book deals with the Akbar's ancestors. The second volume recorded the events of Akbar reign, and the third volume, that is An-i Akbari, that deals with the Akbar's administration, household, tradition and culture of the people, army, the revenue, and the geography of the empire. So it was divided into 3 volumes, and this book was written one of his gem known as Abul Fazl. Empire was divided into provinces, that is called as subas, that is being governed by the Subedar, or you can call them as governor. Subedar was assisted by the officers like Bakshi, Sadar, Faujdar and Kotwal. So Faujdar here means the commander, Bakshi means the military paymaster, and Sadar means the charitable patronage. So these all officers help out the Subedar to look after the kingdom and to administer in better way. Diwan was the financial officer in each provinces, looking after the accounts. Nobles commanded large armies and were loyal to the ruler. Akbar had a secular outlook. He was looking after each and every religion. He wanted to understand the religion, what were the teaching. So he invites each and every priest of the different religions. That discussion on the religion was going on, and this discussion was going on in one of the hall he has built. That hall was known as Ibadat Khana, where religious priests just discuss what their religion teach in their holy books. He proposed the idea of Sulai Kul, which meant the universal peace and tolerance, to tolerate each other's religion, to live in harmony or peace without any kind of conflict, to understand each other better. That is the only way to live. So he proposed the idea of Sulai Kul. Jahangir and Shah Jahan followed the same principle, the Sulai Kul, that was being what that what was being followed by the Akbar. The Mughal Empire in the 17th century and after, administrative and military efficiency of the Mughal led to great economic and commercial prosperity. So they were considered as the best administration, and they were having the best military efficiency also, which able to conquer the places, and also having the great economic and commercial prosperity. But state of poverty also prevailed with the huge economic inequality, like peasants were exploited more, and the zamindar earned more over here. So one was becoming more and more rich, and the other group of people were becoming more and more poor. The only source from where they were getting the taxes, they were not looked after properly. Artisans and peasants and did not benefit, but had very little for investment in their field. So they were also being exploited by the zamindars and the Mughals. With the decline of the Mughal authority, their servants emerged powerful, set up new dynasties, and held command over various provinces. So as the Mughal authority declined, the governor who were appointed to look after the kingdom, they become more and more powerful, and they become the next rulers. Still, they continued to recognize Mughal emperor in Delhi as their master. Though they were ruling, they were considering as the master, but again they were ruling independently. So severe rebellion they have faced, mainly from the peasant. Then later on, zamindar also has joined the peasant to protest against the Mughals, and many more protesters, like the tribal group that was being cleared off by them to establish cultivation field over there. So that because of all these reasons, their empire was being declined by 17th century. So here your chapter ends. I am going to send the PDF of this chapter again with this video. Now few things are not clear, like the first flowcharts box. This would be clear in your worksheet. Already you are having this. Please cooperate, as this much is only able to be cleared off, or I can focus this much only. So please cooperate. If it is not visible over here, please go through your worksheet. Everything is given in your worksheet. You can directly just whenever you are watching this video, keep the worksheet along with you. Then if anything is missing or not visible, then you can just see in your worksheet. Thank you.